Good morning. My name is Mrs. Maureen Hall, and I am a board member of the New Jersey Literacy Association. And I'd like to continue our tradition this morning of reading aloud to you every day. The book I'm reading today is published by Scholastic, and they would like me to say that I am reading with permission from Scholastic, which is very kind of them. The book is called Miss Smith's Incredible Storybook, and it's one of my absolute favorites. And it's written by Michael Garland. And if you take a look at the entire picture, you can see that Miss Smith is not an ordinary looking teacher. Let's see what happens. Miss Smith's Incredible Storybook. Here you see Miss Smith driving to school. And I think she's running a little late. It was the first day of school. Zach was waiting for his teacher to arrive. Boring, boring, he thought. Why would this year be any different from the last one? Then the door swung open. Good morning, class. My name is Miss Smith, and I am your new teacher. As I said, Miss Smith does not look like an ordinary teacher. Miss Smith seemed very different from Zach's other teachers. But the day went along like every school day Zach could remember until Miss Smith said, "It's story time." When she sat at her desk and started to read from the book she had brought with her, Zach couldn't believe his eyes. The storybook characters came to life, and the classroom was swept up in a swashbuckling pirate tale. Wouldn't that be cool? Zach and the rest of his class were right in the middle of the story. He could feel the breeze in his hair and hear the waves pounding on the side of the ship. There they are. They're all sitting in their desks on the ship, right, with the pirates? From then on, Zach couldn't wait to go to school. Every day there was a new story to look forward to. When Miss Smith finished reading, all the characters and adventure whooshed back into her book. Oh, what story are they reading now? Yeah. You see the characters whooshing back into the book? I wonder what could go wrong with a story like this. On Friday, Principal Rittenrotten stood in front of the class instead of Miss Smith.
Miss Smith is stuck in traffic, so she has asked me to read to you until she arrived, he announced.
Zach wondered what would happen next. Principal Rittenrotten started to read. Zach grinned when a princess leaped out of the book, followed closely by a fire-breathing dragon and a brave knight on his horse. I bet that was surprising to Principal Rittenrotten. Principal Rittenrotten was so surprised that all he could do was scream and throw the book up in fright.
I'm going for help,
he crawled over his shoulder as he ran out the door. Uh-oh. When the principal doesn't know what to do, what do you do? Before Zach could think of anything to do, Sue Ann pounced on the storybook. But she didn't finish the dragon story. She started reading another one instead. The princess, the dragon, and the knight did not return to the book. But The three bears and Goldilocks climbed out. So what do we have now in the classroom? I think I can see where the problem is. Freddie, the class clown, jumped out of his seat and tried to yank the book away. When Sue Ann let go, he tumbled backward, and the book flew across the room, and the whole class laughed. Billy caught the book and started reading from a new story. Zach shook his head in amazement when the Mad Hatter, the Cheshire Cat, and Alice popped out to join the others. I think this classroom is getting pretty crowded. Do you remember what will make the characters go back into the book? The children don't seem to remember. As the book passed from kid to kid, one character after another flew out of the pages. The classroom was getting very crowded. This is trouble, Zach said to himself. The chaos was beginning to spill out into the halls. Chaos is just a big, huge mess of confusion. Why don't you finish the stories? Zach pleaded. But no one was listening. Oh my, look at all those characters. Do you see characters from stories you know? I bet you do. Miss Smith brought her car to a screeching stop in front of the school. Uh-oh, there seems to be a little problem, she said to herself as she raced inside. Look at the school building. Chaos in the streets. Meanwhile, Zach was shouting, "We have to finish the story so the characters will go back into the book." But the storybook characters didn't want to go back. A tug of war began. Look at that. The students are on one side and the characters are on the other, and the characters are getting pretty ugly looking. Who can save the day? Miss Smith appeared in the doorway. With one look, she let everyone know she meant business. Even the dragon was suddenly silent. You know that teacher look that teachers can give you? That's what Miss Smith gave her class. The teacher look. Zach handed the book back to Miss Smith. She ruffled through the pages, adjusted her glasses, and started to read. The class sat spellbound as she finished each story in turn. With a swirl and a whoosh, one character after another disappeared into the book until the classroom was quiet and tidy again. How did she get rid of the characters? Yeah, she finished the story. Principal Rittenrotten and a team of firefighters skidded to a halt at the door just as Miss Smith closed her book. "May I help you, Principal Rittenrotten?" asked Miss Smith. But the principal couldn't seem to answer. He just stared at the quiet class with his mouth open. Miss Smith flashed a secret smile at her class. Zach smiled right back. Who would have ever guessed that reading could be so much fun? So when Principal Rittenrotten came back, there was no problem at all. And here's the last picture of Miss Smith with her class. I think what the children in the story discovered today, in part, or what they discovered at the beginning when Miss Smith began to read them their books, was that good stories can take you away. And that's why I like reading books, because they take me away and I'm not bothered by the rest of the world. Let's talk about our affirmation. There are many affirmations we could get from this book, but today I chose, I can make a good choice. So if you look in the mirror and you decide to tell yourself in the morning, I can make good choices. I can make good choices. Then you won't be like the children in this book. Did they make good choices? They did not. Most of them fought to get the books, and then more and more characters escaped, and it was a big, chaotic place. But you can make good choices. So today, we always have a little activity that we'd like you to do with our story. And today's activity is really sort of a question. Which book do you know that you would like to see come to life? You can write about the book and then draw a picture of what it looked like when it came to life. And you can send your pictures to njliteracy@gmail.com. Nice to see you.